Good evening. What you're about to hear is a story that most viewers never saw unfold in its entirety. It began as a passing remark on national television, one that quickly spiraled into a coast-to-coast media firestorm. Stephen A. Smith, the outspoken sports commentator known for never backing down, made a blunt comment about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and her criticism of former President Donald Trump. What followed wasn't just a disagreement. It became one of the most talked-about exchanges of the week, igniting headlines, talk shows, and endless debate across social media. Behind the noise, though, was something very different, a confrontation that revealed far more about truth, power, and the cost of speaking out in modern America. The full footage of their televised clash was shortened before rebroadcast, but the uncut version has recently resurfaced. Tonight, you'll hear that complete exchange, unedited and in full context, exactly as it happened. Stephen A. Smith, mid-broadcast on his ESPN show, leaned toward the camera, voice sharp as a whistle through static. Some people in Washington run their mouths about Donald Trump like it's a hobby. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, yeah, I'm talking to you. You spend more time bashing Trump than helping folks in Texas. The clip hit Twitter like a grenade. Within minutes, hashtags lit up. Hashtag Stephen A. versus Crockett. Hashtag who she thinks she is. Cable pundits circled. Podcasts clipped the rant. And somewhere in Dallas, Crockett watched it alone in her office, jaw set, phone buzzing nonstop. She didn't answer calls that night, but she took notes. By morning, Smith doubled down on his YouTube livestream. I'm not disrespecting the lady. I'm saying focus. Talk policy, not personality. All this trumps a criminal talk. Leave that to prosecutors. The comments spread faster than correction. Major blogs quoted it out of context. Political Twitter melted into factions. Team Stephen versus Team Crockett. Producers smelled blood. CNN booked analysts. Fox lined up commentary. The View teased a Monday segment titled, When Sports Meets Politics. The feud had escaped its cage. For 3 days, Crockett stayed silent. That silence was strategy. Her staff urged restraint. He's baiting you. But she knew the playbook. She'd seen men like him use volume as dominance since her law school moot court days. You don't shout back, you set the trap. So on day 4, she spoke. A single tweet, calm and surgical. If Mr. Smith truly wants focus, he's welcome to join me for one day in district court. We deal with focus there, on facts, not fame. 17 words. 5 million views in 5 hours. By the next morning, every morning show producer wanted her live. She agreed to one. CNN Tonight with Vanessa Monroe. Vanessa's opening teased the duel. When a sports titan challenges a sitting congresswoman, it's not just entertainment. It's America arguing with itself. In the control room, technicians whispered bets on who'd dominate. Stephen A. Smith, remote feed from New York. Jasmine Crockett, live in D.C. The split-screen promised collision. Congresswoman, good evening. Vanessa began. Stephen A. Smith says you're obsessed with Donald Trump. Your response. Crockett folded her hands. Voice steady. Measured. It's interesting, Vanessa. When men speak with passion, they're called powerful. When women do, we're called obsessed. Pause. Tension spike. Vanessa blinked. Smith shifted in his chair. And for the record, Crockett added, if defending democracy is obsession, then count me guilty. Twitter clips ignited before the segment even finished. Smith leaned in. Congresswoman, you can't deny every time Trump sneezes you're on camera about it. You called him, let's be accurate here, a threat wrapped in ego. What does that solve? Crockett's smile was razor thin. Maybe it solves the question of who's willing to tell the truth. And since you brought up accuracy, Stephen, let's correct yours. I said, a threat wrapped in ego and enabled by silence. Silence like yours. The line detonated. Hashtags flipped. Producers mouthed, we got it. Vanessa stepped in, sensing heat rising. Let's keep this civil. Stephen, you've criticized the tone of political discourse. Do you believe Congresswoman Crockett's language crosses a line? Absolutely, Smith said. When she says Trump's a menace, millions hear hate, not policy. No, Crockett replied evenly. They hear truth without translation. That's what scares people used to controlling the narrative. For a moment, the studio froze. Smith looked ready to interrupt. She raised a hand first. You asked what I'd do for my district? I fight to keep them from being lied to. That's a full-time job in this country. The control room director whispered, she's winning the tempo. Producers pre-cut the clip for Twitter upload as Vanessa posed another question. Congresswoman, critics say this exchange is just political theater. Is that fair? Crockett smiled. Only if truth is theater. What we're seeing is a man trying to protect a brand and a woman trying to protect a country. Smith snapped, that's ridiculous. Is it? She cut in softly. When you spend hours defending someone who'd burned the Constitution for ratings, the question isn't who you're critiquing, it's who you're serving. The audience gasped. Vanessa called for a break before the feed caught fire. Narrator voice smooths into the break phase. As the studio cuts to commercials, take a breath. Debates like this don't make headlines because they're comfortable. They make them because they reveal who's prepared. If you want unfiltered truth and real accountability, hit subscribe right now. Your support keeps stories like this alive, stories the mainstream would rather fade to silence. When we return, the exchange goes from heated to historic. Stephen A. tries to recover. Jasmine Crockett does something no one saw coming. The lights came back up. The split screen flickered, New York on one side, Washington, D.C. on the other. Both faces were composed, but you could feel the current running beneath the smile. Vanessa Monroe leaned in. Welcome back to CNN Tonight. Before the break, things got spirited. Stephen A., you said Congresswoman Crockett is focusing too much on Donald Trump and not enough on policy. You wanted to respond. Stephen nodded, his voice lower now, but still cutting. Look, Congresswoman, you can swing at me all you want, but America needs results. Jobs, inflation, crime, that's what voters care about. Not another speech about Trump every time a camera is on. He paused for effect. I respect you, but some of this is grandstanding. Crockett didn't blink. She let the silence sit just long enough to make him nervous. Stephen, she said slowly, when you talk about grandstanding, remember, you're a man paid to stand grand every day. Volume is your currency. Mine is evidence. The room shifted. Smith looked away for a split second. An eternity on television. Vanessa tried to ease the air. Congresswoman, let's get specific. Why keep bringing Trump up if he's no longer in office? Because, Crockett said, his shadow still writes laws through people who fear his tweets more than they respect their oaths. When you see democracy being bent in real time, you don't ignore it. You document it. Tension spike. Camera zoom tight. Viewers lean in. Smith shot back. So every Republican is a villain to you now? No, she replied. Only the ones who know better and pretend they don't. Twitter's live counter spiked as that line hit the air. Smith shifted strategy. He held up his phone. Congresswoman, here's your tweet from last week. Trump has done more damage to this nation than any terror attack in modern history. That's inflammatory. You don't think that's too far? No, Crockett answered instantly. Because terror attacks unite a nation afterward. What he did divided it. And that division is still killing truth. Another hit. Another clip pre-cut for viral replay. Vanessa asked, do you two see any common ground? Crockett looked straight into camera. Common ground starts with common facts. When truth becomes a team sport, democracy dies from exhaustion. Smith opened his mouth to retort, but stopped. He knew it. The moment was hers. Vanessa pivoted. Congresswoman, final question. If you could say one thing to Stephen A. Smith right now, off camera, what would it be? Crockett leaned slightly forward. Her voice dropped to a steady, unshakable calm. I'd ask him the same thing I ask every critic who says I'm too loud, too angry, too much. If you had my view of the truth, would you still be quiet? The question landed like a gavel. Smith didn't answer. He just exhaled and looked down. The segment ended. Vanessa thanked them both. The red light faded. Off-air, Smith murmured, she got me there. Crockett simply smiled. Minutes later, the clip hit social media. The view count spun like a slot machine. Within an hour, Hashtag, would you still be quiet trended nationwide. Commentators called it the moment a sports icon learned a civics lesson live on TV. Podcasts cut montages of her final question. Editorials poured in overnight. Narrator tone slows, introspective, and final. By morning, one thing was clear. Jasmine Crockett hadn't won because she was louder. She won because she was ready. She understood that in an age of performers, substance itself is a revolution. Her question hung in the nation's mind. If you had my view of the truth, would you still be quiet? That was the sound of a mic dropping without ever being thrown. Outro, smooth and natural for voiceover. If you believe conversations like this matter, where truth challenges power and preparation beats noise, subscribe to our channel. Your support keeps real stories alive when others fade them out. Because every time someone speaks truth with evidence and courage, the silence loses.